I was recently contacted by Belkits to showcase one of their upcoming kits. This is a pre-production version, but it's pretty much production ready as they will be releasing it next month. I will be leaving links in the description down below to Domino, the Belgium distributor and also owner of Belkits themselves, if you are interested in one of these kits. Now they should be available worldwide through dealers all over the place, so contact your local hobby shop if they are a dealer, or if not, if they want to become a dealer so they can supply you with these kits. Now Belkits mainly is focused on rally cars, all sorts, all years, various different iterations of each one, and they already have a pretty good lineup. The newest kit to their lineup is the bellow 17. They have multiple versions of it. I think the bellow 18 or 16 will be available shortly too. It's pretty much the same car, maybe a little bit of a different livery, and a different driver. Now this one is the Citroën C3 WRC from the Tour de Corse rally in 2018, driven by Sebastian Loeb and Daniel Alina. I myself am not really all that knowledgeable on rally or even racing cars for that matter, but you guys have wanted to see me do rally cars for a while and also race cars at the same time. I've done a couple race cars in the past, but have never really done a rally car. So when Belkits contacted me to see if I wanted to do this one, I was pretty excited as this is something you guys have wanted to see me do for quite a while. So it's perfect to showcase a super new and exciting kit to you guys. So let's jump into the box and then later on jump into the build in the upcoming videos. So with this quick initial glance at the parts inside of the box, you can already see that there is quite a lot of time and attention been put into this kit. It is well thought out, has various different materials, even upgraded parts already included in the kit like Photo-etched and some other metal pieces and even some seat belts. The decal sheet itself is pretty nice and big too, with a lot of incredible decals on there and also a lot of decals included to add additional detail to the entire kit and build itself. Now not only was there a lot of attention and time put into the kit itself, there is also a lot of time and attention put into the instructions. So for beginners, this is pretty doable as well. It already shows on the front page what kind of tools you require to build this. It is pretty simple as it's not really that many tools, and in general for scale modeling it's pretty much all the same, but it doesn't hurt to mention it anyway. Now the same goes for all the paints. They are listed. They specifically work with the Tamiya paints, so every single one of them is listed here, and if you have all of these, you should be perfectly fine to build this kit from start to finish. So it seems like they made a small mistake in the instructions itself, so they did correct that and included it here. As far as the exterior goes, it is quite a task to get it all painted up in various different colors, as the main body needs to be red, the roof needs to be white, a lot of black parts need to be added as well, and even some gray in combination with red on the front too. There's many decals all over the place, but luckily they are clearly mentioned where each one is supposed to go, so that should be really easy to follow. It just will require a bit of time in order to install all of them and conform them to the correct shapes. So the kit itself is curbside, meaning that it does not come with a fully detailed out engine bay and or engine for that matter. Now nonetheless, as you can see, there are quite a few sprues with parts, so for the detail freaks that should be totally fine. And if you want to go all the way, you could of course 3D design and 3D print one of these engines and completely go nuts, but that's not my cup of tea, so I'm just going to go and build this straight out of the box. Just paint all the parts as they are supposed to be, add the decals from the kit itself, and finish it that way, as that should be more than enough to give a beautiful result. So all of the parts that are here are incredibly well detailed. As you can see, the chassis has some super nice detailing on all of the visible parts, and even on some of the pieces that won't really be visible at the end after a lot of the covers and flat bottom pieces have been put in place. Same goes for a lot of the drivetrain parts, even some of the bracing and probably suspension components, steering arms, and all the other parts all around. The disc brakes themselves will probably be completed with a photo etch piece that I will show later on, so there's no detail on the disc itself, just on the center hat and also the caliper, of course. So like I said, most of the chassis will be covered up with a lot of these plastic or carbon fiber covers. It has a nice diffuser with some super nice fins on it, and also some detail where they mount to the main plate itself. A lot of nice shapes. It's not too thick, it's not super thin, but then again, this is a production style kit, so it has to be a little bit thicker in order for the parts not to fail in the mold. So I did quickly mention that this was a curbside kit, meaning no engine, but it does, however, have a little detail for the underside of a separate piece, which is supposed to reminisce the underside of the engine and probably the transmission as well, and that will be painted and detailed, but then again covered up with some of these underlying panels, making the bottom flat and even for the rally car to be as functional as possible. The seats themselves are incredibly well done too. They have the full protection on the sides, also have some nice detail on the back, and therefore there will be some carbon fiber decals added. I'm pretty sure that they are already in the kit itself. The main interior tub is of course a fully stripped one, so it has a little bit of detail here and there, and a lot of separate parts and pieces to go on top of it to detail it out even more. Same goes for the door panels. Of course, this being a rally and or race car, this needs to have a roll cage in it too, and that is included in the kit. It is super nicely detailed all around, various different pieces, so that will be quite the task to put all together, but in the end have a fantastic finish. So like I said, on the main interior tub, the details are mostly molded into separate parts and pieces, so that it makes it a lot easier to detail them all out and bring it together really easily with all the different colors and different parts in the end. On one of the final bigger sprues, there are a lot of parts for both in and exterior to detail it out even more. There's even some tools to mount the wheels during the race itself if you run a flat or simply just need to change a couple of parts. On the exterior side, there are a couple of parts molded separately to make that easier to paint and also add initial detail, like the door handles here, of course the mirrors, window wipers, and various other parts all around. So with these rally cars, there mostly isn't all that much chrome to show for, and they didn't add it in this case either, as of course it isn't supposed to be there, so why would they add it? They only added it to the necessary parts, like the light housings themselves for a nice reflective finish underneath the clear parts for the rear, also the front, and also this grille piece with some of the light pieces in here, and the main emblem and logo here of course too, along with a couple of these other lights here, and some of these antennas or other figgly pieces which will probably be clear during the build, but I have no idea what they are at the moment. The wheels, just like most of the other parts, are molded in a nice white, and they probably will be painted white too, but you could get away with not painting them at all. That is how clean the cast itself is. So there are 4 wheels for the exterior and 1 spare wheel for on the interior, even with the drilled out lug holes. to add additional detail, as it is a spare wheel and those don't usually get mounted with these lugs in them, of course. And for all 5 of those wheels you of course get 5 tires too, all made out of nice flexible rubber, have a good detail on both sides and a nice thread pattern too. During the initial glance through the box you might have noticed this one. It is a completely flexible sprue with rubber parts. For a lot of the hoses, I think these are brake ducts and other ducts and hoses for on the chassis itself. With them already being made out of rubber, they don't need to be painted of course, and add an extra level of detail to it. I think these are some of the panels for on the chassis itself to make it a flat bottom. Not really sure why these are made out of rubber, as they are really flexible. I'm not sure if that's going to be very easy to do and use during the build itself, but nonetheless this probably has something to do with the actual cars and having these pieces be some kind of rubber to there. That is my best guess. There is also a sprue included with some of these clear parts, or some of them, all of these clear parts of course. The main clear part itself is mounted with the front and rear and also a headliner already in there. It has super nice and crisp lines here on the clear parts themselves for where they need to be masked off in order to paint that black border around it. And the same goes for the side windows. They have some of the exterior molding on there too. It's a really nice thick line, so it's easy to mask it off and paint that black. And of course on the inside they will need to be masked off properly as well. For some of these other clear parts, like the lenses on the taillights, the headlights, and some of the other lights all around, again, super clean casting. Some might need to be painted, and others can be left as is and used perfectly well. So normally with injection molded plastic production kits, you don't get photo-etched parts included in the kit already. With Belkits, I think pretty much every single kit already has some of these photo-etched pieces in there, but this one I'm pretty sure takes it to a next level, as it has some of these canards that are already pre-bent, which makes it a lot easier to use, and mess up is probably not that likely. It also has a couple of these pins in here, probably to mount it in place. Really cool to see this. I've never even seen this in any other kit before, already being pre-bent and ready to use straight away. Now alongside those pieces you also get a piece of photo etch with some of the grills in there, a nice piece of seatbelt material to use, and on the other side you even have more photo etch material for on the inside, I think for all the brake discs on both sides to add initial detail or extra detail, seatbelt material, more seatbelt material for the buckles, and even some other detail pieces all around. And then these white sticker sheets are included too for the outside of the windows on the side for the black paint, and also for the inside of the windows front and rear. If you were already impressed by the kit itself, then have a look at this decal sheet. This is something incredible. I haven't seen a decal sheet done this well in a long time. I've seen a lot of decal sheets with high quality and then they just let down on some of the details. For instance, with a couple of the Revell kits, they have some carbon fiber decals included, but then the actual carbon fiber decal itself, well, the pattern, or at least the design, doesn't even really look like realistic carbon fiber. In this case, Belkits have delivered. The carbon fiber decal itself is nicely done. The design is done well too. It's a really fine pattern. It is pretty hard to see, but then again, scaled down 24 times to make it into a 1/24th scale kit. Carbon fiber is going to be a detail that is hard to see. For on the tires themselves, they have a lot of nice decals as well. Various decals for the exterior, I think for the spoiler, then for the seat backs itself with a top and bottom piece, or well, a top and bottom piece, and then of course all other decals around the car itself. And then finally we can move on to the body itself. Again, molded in white plastic, which is a big plus point. A lot of these kit manufacturers will mold this in red or black, or the color that will be used most on the exterior side of things when needing to paint them. But luckily Belkits decided to mold it in white, as it's a lot easier to paint white plastic in pretty much any color than it would be to paint a red plastic body and have the roof be a nice white, as that can sometimes move from the plastic through the paint, and then instead of a white roof you turn up with a pink roof. So luckily not to worry here. All of the details again super crisp, like this vent on the side has some nice bolts, nuts or rivets molded into there. This piece for the door handle is a separate piece, and this front fender is also a nice separate piece. I think this has to do with the molding being a lot easier, having that a separate piece. And also the hood needs to be painted red, the bumper needs to be painted gray, and this front fender also needs to be painted gray, so that makes it a lot easier to have a nice clean separation between a lot of these parts, as it is a separate piece, and therefore it's a lot easier to mask it off, and in this case not having to mask that piece off at all. So this will be a super clean line, and the same goes for all the parts around it. That's it for this one. I hope you got excited by this unboxing and are looking forward to the actual build itself. I'm not exactly sure when I will start on the build, but hopefully as soon as possible. I have multiple projects going at the same time, and I'm pretty busy, so I hope to get to it soon. But otherwise, if you are interested, again, links will be in the description for where you can buy this one yourself.